Well, I think these have dried well enough. I'm going to use packing tape. Now, there are many kinds of packing tape you can buy. Some of them uh, tell you, like if you look on Amazon or any place online for packing tape, it's typically 2 inches wide or close. It's not exactly 2 inches often, but close. And it will tell you how thick the tape is. Now, I have found that the very thinnest tape that you can find works best. And I've discovered that tape that does not tell you how thick it is often is the cheapest and the thinnest. And that's what I buy. That's what this is. So uh, it isn't perfectly made tape, I'll guarantee you that, but it's certainly adequate for using it the way I do on fighter kites. And I'm just going to pull off a piece and I'm going to lay it down close to this longest batten from the wingtip line down. And I'm going to cut it when I cut the sail. Now, in order to keep packing tape, or any tape for that matter, bonded well, you need to really burnish it, press it down, rub it to make sure that the adhesive is bonding well to the sail. And I do the same on the other side. Pretty simple. And it isn't any rocket science. I eyeball it and have never had an issue with it being inadequately accurate. The kites fly fine. If I were to measure it precisely, uh, it might make a slight difference if I were really, really able to detect it, but I can't. Now here I put a little wrinkle. I got a little wrinkle in the tape. Sometimes I can just squeeze that out with my fingernail, and that's that. But otherwise, this will show up on the front side of the kite. You want to minimize that if you can. Obviously, I didn't there, and it probably will show up in the kite. And it's okay with me if it does. I'm fine with it. I make these kites to fly them and to have fun with them. I don't have any other issue to deal with regarding the perfection of the kite as an important element in getting my own personal satisfaction when I make it or fly it. So now I just use a ruler. I am going to cut it using my hot knife, which is my little soldering pencil here. And I line it up so that my soldering pencil has a width on the blade of it. Some of these are very, very thin. Some are not as thin. This one is probably maybe a millimeter thick. And so what I do is before I get it hot, to line it up with the ruler, I put it against the tip of the bow and then push the ruler against it. And I do that at the bottom of the spine as well. Now, sometimes I make a mistake and extend the battens so that they interfere with a smooth cut. And on this one, I'm using a straight trailing edge. I could, if I wanted to, I could have made this a different shape, a scalloped shape. And many kite makers use that, including me. This kite I didn't do that on. But when you do a scallop, it can, not always, but can increase the Kite's performance, its speed, and its maneuverability. So here I'm just lighting this up, and I'm going to start over here and just cut this out. I do it very slowly so that the melting, especially where it's doubled on the with the tape here, it takes a little more heat to really melt it well. And so just go slow. It's not no rush. Now I do the same thing with the nose leading edge, and that's what I do next. So I just line up my hot cutter to the point here where the bow meets the nose leading edge and cut it off right there. Now, if you were using packing tape to strengthen the leading edge of the nose, you would be cutting through that at this time. I go right to the bow. And I do the same on the other side. The tricky part, or I thought it was tricky when I first time I did this, is cutting around the bow. Now, I drew on my template a hem, which typically I would cut, like this. I'd probably do it a little bit less and a little smoother. Well, maybe I wouldn't, I don't know. And then I just roll this glue and roll that over. Well, with this glue, this T8000 glue, I discovered that I can just cut it right along the bow and not have any hem, and it works just fine. So I'm going to turn my hot cutter on and just very carefully go along the bow. You do not want to go slowly in this instance because the carbon fiber is negatively affected by heat. So I move relatively quickly, but go 2 or 3 times and it will cut it. Now, this little piece here didn't quite make the cut, but we'll get it right there. And I do the same on the other side. Well, the kite is cut out, and time to take it off of the glass. And it'll be wet, of course, on the front side. But I just lift it up off the glass, and there's our finished kite. Now you can see here that where I put the tape, it made a different impression on the light reflectivity of the front side of the sail. And that's very typical. Now, I always do something to help protect the sail from getting damaged with flying line. When you're flying a kite, your flying line is very likely to get snagged at the end of the bow. And if it does, it can just rip right along the bow, rip the sail. So what I do is put a small piece of tape, and I'll use black to show you, like this. I just fold it over. You can use packing tape, you can use any kind of tape. It's just for reinforcing this area to help protect the kite's sail from getting accidentally snagged by your flying line when you least expect it. And then, so I will do that. And I do the same thing right up here at the point where the nose leading edge and the bow meet. I put a piece of tape there also. It's a very weak place. When you crash your kite, if you do. I do often. And it lands on the wingtip and snaps back. Often this area here will tear if you do not have a piece of tape to reinforce it. So those are two things I'm going to do next. And after I complete that, I will begin to make the bridle and the tension line.